Hi, my name is Amber Spiegel. I'm the owner of SweetAmbs, and we're about to fill some icing bags so we can decorate some cookies. So I have all of my icings ready to go. We're using royal icing, which is a mixture of confectioner sugar, meringue powder, and water, and a little bit of salt and vanilla just for the flavor. I'm going to fill up the rest of these bags and then we can get to decorating our cookies. We're ready to decorate our cookies, so the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to flood the cookie, which is just adding our base layer of icing, and then on top of that we'll add all of our decorations. So we'll just start out with the pink icing, make an outline. And then right away, I'm going to increase the pressure and just fill in the whole thing. And then we'll use our little scriber needle here just to even this out and bring it a little bit closer to the edge. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge because we need a little bit of space just in case the icing wants to spread out a little bit more. So that's our flooded cookie. So this will have to dry about 8 hours, but I've already got one here that's dry, so I'll just switch that. And the next thing I'm going to do is the brush embroidery. So we have our white icing, a little bit of water, our brush, and a paper towel. And I'm just going to start by piping these petals of the flower with a little bit of a ruffled edge. And then I'll dip the brush in the water and get rid of the excess on the paper towel. And then I'm just going to drag this icing down with the brush. I'm just adding one more layer of petals here. And then I'll just finish this flower with a little center. Now I'm just going to continue on creating flowers around the outside of this cookie here. And right in the middle here between these flowers, I'm going to add a leaf. To finish the cookie, I'll add a few dots in between. And there is our brush embroidered cookie. The next thing I'll show you is the wet on wet rose technique. So we'll start out with our blank cookie again. This time we have a few different colors that we'll be working with. We've got our blue, our light pink, and then these 3 little bags that don't have tips on them. The reason I don't use tips on these bags is because we just need a really tiny amount of icing for these. So again, I'm going to start out by flooding the cookie. And I'll take the scribe tool, move the icing out toward the edge. With this technique, you have to move pretty quickly because we have to add these flowers in before the blue icing dries. So you usually have about 5 to 10 minutes before the top layer starts to crust over. So we're just going to go right into it. So we'll add first our little light pink dots. Add a little bit of this dark pink on top. Now with the scribe tool, I'm just going to swirl these together to make a little rose. A little bit of light green for the leaf. Just little dots on each rose. just a smaller dot of dark green over that. That's just gonna add a little bit of definition to these leaves to have 2 shades of green. And then with the scribe tool, I'm just gonna drag these out into a leaf shape. So those are our roses, and we would let this dry overnight before we add a border on here, but I do have one ready to go. And I'll just add a border around the outside of this one. So this is just a nice little finishing touch to the cookie. So that's our wet on wet rose cookie. The next cookie I'll show you is the filigree design. So I've got my iced cookie here. It's already completely dry. And I'm just gonna use my brown icing. The reason we're using brown is because I'm going to paint it gold later, and that just helps the gold to stand out more. So I'm just gonna go and start piping my little filigree pattern here. Okay, so we've got the cookie covered with this filigree design, and I'm gonna let that dry about 20 minutes before painting it, but I do have one ready to go. So we'll switch this out here. So to paint this, I'm using some gold pearl dust. And this is all meant for use on food, so it's perfectly fine to use on your cookies. And to that, I'm gonna add a few drops of grain alcohol. And the reason I'm using alcohol instead of water is because the water would dissolve the icing as you're painting, so the alcohol evaporates really quickly, and that way you can paint without ruining your design. And then I'll just apply this paint to the filigree design. So there is the gold filigree cookie. I'm Amber Spiegel of SweetAmbs. If you want to learn more about cookie decorating and how you can make these cookies on your own, visit my website at SweetAmbs.com. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching ALTV.